What's up? My name is Luke. I live in Florida in Zone 9A. And for the past several years, I've been trying to preserve cassava canes over winter so I could replant in the spring. And I've tried numerous experiments. I tried putting them on the dirt floor of a shed and they just dried out. I tried putting them in the garage and they dried out or got moldy. I put them in a garbage bag in the garage. They got moldy. I buried some in a cardboard box and they started growing during a warm patch in January. And then another frost came and killed that. And then they started rotting in the ground. I dug them up and they weren't viable. I also tried putting them in canisters in the ground, all sorts of things. Anyway, this past fall, David the Good on his gardening blog posted a video, a YouTube video from Brazil. And it's all in Portuguese, but it's about these Brazilian farmers that preserve their cassava cane in their area, which is south enough in the southern hemisphere for them to experience frost like we do in Florida a little bit. And they had this pretty simple strategy, and they basically found a tree in the woods that got some morning sun. It was supposed to be an east-facing tree that got morning sun, and you kind of just loosely embed them in some loose earth at the base of the tree and lean the canes against the tree, and then cover them with branches from like an old, I used an old oak tree, and the tree is supposed to protect them from the frost, and the morning light I guess gives them a little bit of photosynthesis and dries them out, and the breeze will ventilate them and whatnot. Anyway, so I found that video just at the right time when I was taking my cassava down. I took mine down in December because it was pretty warm all through November, and we didn't get really any cold weather into the 40s or anything like that, much less freezing. So I decided to do that experiment for myself this winter, and today I'm going to show you the results. So here is my bundle of cassava cane leaning against an east-facing oak tree in some woods. Now you can see it just looks like a big stack of branches, and that's because I put a bunch of fallen oak branches around them, and the leaves have subsequently died off of those oak branches, so now it just kind of looks like a big pile of sticks. And I put this rabbit cage against one side to keep the bundle from blowing over, and then there's a bunch of hog panel here that I use to cover watermelons to keep coyotes and wild roaming dogs off of my watermelons, but that's kind of propping up the other side. And then I'll move a little bit closer, and you can see like these are oaks, but you can clearly see the cassava right back here. And check this out. I'm going to go down to the base. You can see that I kind of stacked them up in some loose earth. And look at this. Those are cassava leaves, people. This stuff is growing. So there's no doubt in my mind that this is a viable method, and it's super easy compared to digging. Like the times that I dug, it took me forever to find where it actually was in the earth. Sometimes I was like 2 feet off, and it's just a laborious pain to deal with all the digging when this is such a simple method. So as you can see, this strategy for preserving the cassava really works, and it's super easy, and it's really exciting. I'm probably not going to plant cassava today because I have a few other things I got to take care of. I'm mainly digging some watermelon pits, and one really interesting thing happened when I took down the cassava. After I had cleaned it and taken all the roots off, I was left with these thick, round canes from the base of the tree. And instead of throwing them out, I decided that I would save them and use them as, wood to throw in my watermelon pits to hold water, because I know they'll just rot down. And why go digging through the woods for rotten wood when I can just use that cassava? So I stacked them indiscriminately under just a random oak tree in my yard. And when I went to go chop some of them up, I noticed that they had cassava leaves growing. So I just threw them on the ground under a random oak tree that wasn't facing east. It faces north. So I mean, it probably gets no morning light, and it still, I would imagine, would be viable to propagate. Like if I planted them, I guarantee I'd have new growth because they're already growing right now. So I'm going to show you that right now because I'm going to use them anyway. I'm going to bury them in the watermelon patch, but I thought you just want to check it out, so bear with me. So now I'm about 30 yards away from my standing cassava patch that I already showed you. It's just under this tree right here. This is in the middle of a fairly large pasture, and it got down into the 20s many times this winter. And that's one of my main growing patches over there. I got some corn going, watermelons and okra and roselle, and still got some brassicas and stuff over there from the winter. But this is where I just threw a pile of cut canes. And I got some leaning against this gate just so that you can see better, because there's all this Virginia creeper here that's green, and it's going to be hard to see the leaves on the ones that got them. So basically they were just sitting in a pile right here, and I propped these ones up against this so you can see the actual green parts. Check it out, like there and there. We did just get a real cold couple nights where it got into the high 30s, so I'm guessing that these don't look great, but I think the cold probably started to re-kill them. But look at these. Those are good looking leaves. I know it's kind of hard because those Virginia creepers blend in on the floor there in the background, but these I didn't do anything. I just threw them on the ground under an oak tree. So that might be the ticket. It might not matter if it's eastern facing. I think it just needs to be in contact with the ground, and that might be enough. I don't know, maybe I'll try some more experiments next year. Anyway, so that's pretty exciting. I don't have to buy any more cassava. Last year I spent $40 on probably 20 canes, which is outrageous if you ask me. And I think next year I'm gonna do the same thing that I did this year, put them up against the tree, but I'm also gonna take a bunch of canes and just throw them on the ground under random oak trees and see what happens. Like, does it matter which direction it faces? Does it matter if you lean it against the tree? That's the kind of stuff I'm gonna try to find out, because it'd be great if you could just tie up a bundle and throw it on the ground under a bunch of trees and then kind of hedge your bets, and that's that. I mean, this is so much easier than all the other stuff I've been trying to do. So I hope this video helps anyone that is trying to preserve canes for the winter, and if so, maybe pass it along. Thanks.